Welcome to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle. And in today we're in the Embu region and we're having very heated debates. In today's motion that reads, companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by their supply chain. I read the motion again. Companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by their supply chain. Proposing and opposing this motion is Kangaru School versus Massimo Tigania. All the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, I stand here before you to propose the motion that says companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by their supply chain. I'm Robert Irungu from the Kangaru School. Company. These are business organizations that make money by producing and selling of goods and services. Supply chains. These are series or processes involved in the making and production of goods. Deforestation. This is the act of cutting down or burning trees in an area. Legally, this is something that is required or allowed by the law. Accountable. This is taking responsibility for one's action. Deforestation is a global issue with environmental, social, and economic consequences. It contributes to climate change, biodiversity loss, and negatively impacts on indigenous community and people. I will present key points in support with relevant references to show the merits of this motion. To kick off the motion, I'll start by saying that companies that operate in sectors such as timber, palm oil production, and agriculture are major contributors of deforestation. They clear vast areas of forest in order to acquire the raw materials and the resources for the production of their commodities. This leads to habitat destruction and also to extinction of species. Therefore, companies should be held accountable in order to incentivize better practices such as sourcing from certified sustainable suppliers or implementing afforestation initiatives. In addition to all these, deforestation often leads to violation of human rights, particularly among the indigenous communities that depend on forests for their livelihoods and cultural heritage. These communities are forcibly displaced, they face violence and experience lack of access to resources. Let's take, for example, a community that lives in a forested area. This community depends on trees and the forest for their livelihoods, for their living, and then a company comes and clears the forest in order to obtain raw materials and resources in order to produce their commodities. This community will be displaced. They will face lack of resources because their resources, which are the trees, have been cut down. Also, deforestation accounts for more than 15% of greenhouse gas emission. I will urge you to make the better choice. Choose the green. Thank you.
Team opposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
I'm here to oppose the motion that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation in their supply chain. My brother, you have spoke well, but the question is in their supply chain. You could have just checked the comment. So companies can never be accountable. They can never be accountable in their supply chain. They have complex supply chains. We can't say, like an example, it's iPhone. It imports its raw materials from 43 countries over 6 continents which we have in our motherland. So telling them to be accountable for the deforestation, maybe they don't have clue of the supply chains which they are dealing on. They don't have any idea to know what they are dealing with. So it's hard for them to be legally and accountable in the deforestation which they face again. Again, it's on the agriculture sector. There have been a rise of population recently. There has been population increasement over countries. So, how can companies are the ones we're saying they should be legally accountable in the supply chains of their dealings. So, let's check out this. Companies are the same that sat down. They are producing the raw materials which we require for our daily needs. Due to the increase of populations, there's requirement of basic needs, which companies will go back and decide. Look not further in your dinner plates. You have beef at sometimes. You have beans. You have maize. Where does it come? From the lads. How do you expect the company to produce those things that you require for you to be here right now, and you say they should be accountable for the deforestation, which is to be always accountable? Still, there's poor political interference and in the bad governance. Companies are trying their best to merge up the population to produce the increasement of their resources. So, an example is the comment of which our president said, we can't have mature trees rotting in forest while locals suffer due to lack of timber. That is foolishness. Indeed it is. How can we have forest? Indeed it is, indeed it is not. The companies that we have that are running there, they are the ones that produce the resources. Yes, we can't have trees rotting. We will contribute in the deforestations. But who am I? Am I cutting the trees for myself or for the rising populations over there or for the people of the place I am? Yeah, and still forests are lungs of our planet, and we are on the verge of switching off them. Thank you.
Team Proposition, second speaker, you have 3 minutes.
As they say, if you want to kill a snake, aim for its head. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Isaac Mwenda from the Kangaru School, here to strongly support the motion. Companies should be held legally and financially accountable. Legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by their supply chains. First of all, to kickstart the motion, I'd like to shed some light on the persistent thorn that affects our lives, that troubles our lives. This persistent thorn has affected us economically, environmentally, and also socially. And what is this thorn I'm talking about? It's deforestation. Deforestation has contributed largely to environmental degradation. And according to the Global Forest Watch, in fact, 15%, I would like to encourage as my first proposer has said, in fact, 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation accounts for approximately 15% of global greenhouse emissions, more than the entire transport sector itself. Also, as our opposers have said about how companies have a lot of supply chains, and due to the varieties of supply chains, it is difficult. They say it is difficult to monitor their activities. Well, I deny this, because holding companies legally and financially accountable for their supply chains will increase supply chain transparency, which will help identify high-risk areas and facilitate to help target proper actions that will be needed to take place to eradicate the problem. Also, I would like to ask this question: is it really about profits and gains, Or is it really about the lives, about surviving in a viable environment? An article by Mark Caniver on a BBC News website concluded that almost a quarter of companies company revenue depended on deforestation-linked commodities. Yes, it is true, but it is just fair to say that companies are equally responsible for deforestation. As the local slang says, mapema do best, meaning the earlier the better. Thank you.
Team opposition, second speaker, you have 3 minutes.
All trees on ashes, and what is the consecutive agent? It is the forest. And that's why I, Prudence Kenyu from Massimo High School, opposed that the motion that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by their supply chain. My friend here, you have just said that these companies have learned to the supply chains, which you should be just opposing. Therefore, you should just have thought about it. First thing, I will start on agriculture expansion, which is due to population increase and not mainly on companies. For example, in livestock ranching, there are very many ranches worldwide which have been constructed just to keep cattle, which in the global world, we have just found out that 14% of the deforestations are caused by cattle, whereby they are in the ranches that they are kept. Farmers often clear their lands so that they may be able to rear their livestock and also plant crops which they usually feed on themselves. And as they continue with this, they usually continue with purpose as the soil is just, they continue to use it properly until the soil is completely degraded, and they repeat the same process on the new woodland. An example is in Brazil, whereby in the Brazil Amazon, there is a big ranch that is kept for livestock so that they may be able to rear it and sell their products, which does not regard on its supply chain, since they are keeping it on their own benefit. On the second thing is about infrastructure expansion. Like an example is dams and railways. An example of dam is in Soweto, which is in Indonesia. The Indonesian government just declared it as a rule so that they may be able to support the local people who does not have enough water. They built the dam in the Indonesia so that to help them and not resell, and they declared it as a rule. The other thing is on rails. An example in our country in Kenya, whereby SGR was built, there are many trees which have been cut down just to build the railway so that to facilitate transport and movement of goods from one place to the other. The other thing is forest fires. Most people have just caused fires through man-made things, especially just to burn charcoal, which is the main cooking fuel for urban and population. And this grows in Zambia, and this grows as the demand of charcoal increases. Deforestation is intensified. Zambia is the most impacted of both rural and urban households, whereby they use charcoal as their main fuel. And through this, we get to see that it's not necessarily the companies that have led to deforestation, but there are other factors which I've just listed below. Thank you.
Team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
To my opposers, you said that SGR, there were many trees that were cut down for the construction of SGR, but the SGR was built by a construction company. So SGR should be accountable, the company should be accountable for the deforestation caused by the construction of SGR. I'm Michael Kelvin from Kangaru School, ready to support the motion that companies should be held legally and financially accountable for deforestation caused by the supply chains. Now, there are many species of animals which are critically endangered because of the destruction of habitats. An example is the Gran Chaco and Cerrado company in Brazil, which works in beef and soybeans. It has caused in a great extent deforestation in the Amazon forest. In the Amazon forest, there is an animal called the sloth. The sloth can only survive in the Amazon forest. If the company continues deforesting in the Amazon forest, it means that one day the sloth species will be extinct because their habitat has been destroyed by deforestation. So if the companies are not held legally and financially are not held accountable, these species of animals will be extinct. Also, there are some of the indigenous trees which make high quality products. If the companies continue harvesting these trees in order to make the quality products, what in the future? What will they use? You have said that the president said that mature trees cannot rot in the forest, whereas local people do not have timber, lack timber. If the trees are being cut, these trees take a long time to mature. If companies start cutting them down right now, they'll reach a point where there'll be no trees. The trees will be few, and therefore there'll be scarcity of the raw materials, the trees which are used to make the products. Also, there is a company bipartisan agriculture and forestry company in the USA. They have made policies to reduce deforestation. Why is this? Because they saw the need of reducing deforestation, which has very severe effects on our lives. Example, what I've said about the sloth. If the sloth become extinct, there'll be an imbalance in the ecosystem. So companies should be held accountable. The companies should be held accountable, and the government should put in policies such as reforestation initiatives and reducing emissions associated with the land use. This will enable to reduce the rate of deforestation that is caused by companies. If the companies are held accountable for deforestation, it will strengthen the regulatory frameworks of deforestation. Still, the companies will work together. If the companies are accountable, it will bring together the companies themselves, the government, and the NGOs and the local communities in ensuring that even if the companies are being accountable for the deforestation, which is an extra cost to them, they'll be able to still maximize their profits. Thank you.
Team opposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
The sound of a falling tree. Annoying and loud, right? But I guess what could be more annoying and loud is a sound of a falling company. That's why I, Brian Bakari from St. Massimo High School, come to say that companies should not be held responsible, should not be held financially and legally responsible for the deforestation because of their supply chain. So first, you've said that the SGR should be held responsible. But yeah, we are talking about the company supply chain. So the SGR was not using those products from the trees. And actually, the SGR was run by the government, by our honorable, retired, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. So this government that is expected to hold the companies legally is the one which is encouraging SGR. So how can we hold them financially and legally accountable? Yes, the first proposer said, in human rights, you never stated the human rights. So stop creating your own human rights, you are causing confusion. So give us relevant examples about the Bill of Rights. What that human rights that says that if the trees are cut, there's a human one that is not passed. So please give us relevant points. And then we have the companies. If I might say, if the companies are held both financially and illegally, in quotes, we might scare them away. So in 2021, we are told that products of wood were imported from Asia, from China actually. That is products worth 4.03 billion US dollars. So let us say that was concentrated in our country. You could see that one could be good for our economy. But now because the companies are strictly held legally and financially accountable for that deforestation, we can see that they will be afraid and go and import some products from other countries. And we also have, not that the companies cannot obey the laws. No, we have the companies clearing the land because some of our systems have slacked off. Like, let me say, the government. Our president, William Ruto, lifted a ban of logging last Sunday. But did he put any policies? Did he say a company should be clearing this amount of land? No. Now we can see the company, yes, it has lifted the ban, but we don't have the company putting policies on how they should be clearing this forest. So you can see now, people from the government slagging, we will have the companies being tempted to clear even acreage of land that is not required. That will even affect our ecosystem. So we have even the companies like the Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, and Mass, which had promised that they will help to end deforestation, but no, they haven't. So we have the slugging off of the government, and we have the policies not being applied that tempts the companies to cause deforestation. So you should not blame the companies. Let the government take hold of their points. Let the companies give policies on what they want us to do, and the companies will do. Thank you.
Team Proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Ladies and gentlemen, I came here today seeking a solution. Do we really want to live in a world where there is extinction of species, habitat destruction, and also extinction of animal species? My friend here has told us that His Excellency William Ruto lifted the ban, and that companies will be tempted to even deforest an acre of land. Thank you for supporting us, and that's why we are saying that policies should be placed there in order to hold companies accountable for their deforestation caused by their supply chains. Our leaders are also fighting for a natural environment. For example, we have Wangari Maathai, a Nobel Peace Laureate, fought for trees, and I urge you all, let's fight for the trees because they protect us, and let us protect them. Thank you.
Team Opposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Thank you. It's me again, Brian Bakari. So you have said our president Uhuru. No, it is William Ruto. Uhuru actually implied the ban of logging. Ruto last Sunday is the one who said that we should cut trees. And then, as I might add, if it were not for these companies, what could we be? Let us take, for example, the paper company. In our schools, we get free books. Let us say the policy that the books are taxed, the companies which are producing those books are taxed heavily. Do you think we could be getting the books for free? No. We could be forced to buy the books. Just imagine, you are in a boarding school. Your book, you have written on it and it is full. So you have to get out and buy a book. Just imagine. So tragic. So you who are supporting us to buy books, you are a disgrace to the book of the student. So please, let us support the companies. Let the political part take their role seriously. Put policies on how we can do this, and we will do it right. The companies will help us even to develop our countries. Thank you.
If you're proposing this motion, then you should be saying why companies indeed should be held legally and financially. And I heard that from Robert when you said it would be a way of incentivizing those companies to actually either uphold or actually use the word get their timber or whatever from sustainable forests or so and so. Coming to the opposing side, if they are not to be held liable, then what should be done? That was not coming out from St. Massimo. You know, what should be done? Then in that case, we can say that let's then hold the supply chain companies, liable themselves, or create awareness, or educate them on good practices that actually can encourage them to do the right thing. Or even, where is the government? That came out, I think I heard it from Brian Bakari. I heard you mention the government. I was actually expecting this motion to be twisted on your side to say, actually these companies should not. But indeed, those companies that are supplying, or two, the government that is setting the policies around these things. So really, we felt this motion narrowed down to deforestation and supply chains. But at some point, we had so many facts about what deforestation does and but it was not hitting the legally and financially liable bit.
Part of the things that we look at is passion and conviction. And we're looking also at your coherency of argument. Are we together? Those are two elements that you could still score very highly even if you did not get the motion right. And I'm looking at you and how your presence was. Why are you looking at us? Why are you engaging us? Did we feel engaged in this particular motion? Why you understood? And so you really wanted to work on those particular elements of public speaking, if I might call that, all right? So that once you're speaking, we can feel the energy that is being taken in. The reason why we are a bit harsh on you is because you're a senior team. And being a senior team, sometimes a bit of the check-in is quite high on that, all right? But I want to commend Robert from Team Kangaru and Brian from Team Massimo, all right? You can borrow a lot the rest of the team members from them on how to engage the audience. All the best. Let's wait for the results.
And again, when it comes to conversations around lobbying for sustainability, it could go on, and this is a very passionate debate when it comes to the current affairs that we're currently experiencing globally and also locally. I have the results with me, and I will go straight to the results. The judges awarded Kangaru School with 61.9%. A round of applause, please, for Kangaru School. And the judges awarded St. Massimo High School with 60.2%. A round of applause, please, for St. Massimo. And the winners of this debate are Kangaru School with 61.9%. A round of applause, please, for the winning team. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of this debate for the Upper Region Debate Tournament. And make sure to check our social media handles on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Twitter at The Debate Circle. And until next time, it is goodbye from us.